Organizational structure. I definitely feel that I thrive the most in a functional organizational structure or a divisional org structure. The reason that I like a functional organizational structure is the same reason that I'm following a functional career path. I really like knowing where the accountability is, who to go to, the clear delineation of responsibility. I like knowing that if a check needs to be cut to someone for all the water bottles that we ordered this week, that goes to the accounting department. I like knowing that if a customer's calling because their house drawing isn't correct, that goes back to the sales department because that's who sold the house. I also really like a divisional organizational structure, and the reason that I like that as well is because it gives so much opportunity for organizational knowledge and growth and development as a person. I feel like I can do a better job in my accounting role when I understand better what the whole organization is doing. I feel like the whole can process, the whole of the organization functions better when each piece understands the others better. Now, I don't mean to say that I need to know exactly the process that a salesperson goes through when they're making a sale, but it is helpful to understand some of the challenges that they're dealing with customers and some of the demands that customers are expecting. So when they do kick back this paperwork into logistics, logistics understands some of the challenges that they're dealing with, that they're not really just throwing unreasonable expectations at logistics because they don't care. They're throwing those demands at logistics because that's what the customer is demanding and because that's what they have to do to get the sale. And I also feel like there's opportunity for that to go the other way as well. That, in the accounting department, maybe we struggle to get the customer's deposit on time because they don't understand what's the expectation from the accounting department because the sales team doesn't communicate that. When you have a divisional organizational structure, you can really talk and have closer interactions with your sales team so that you can say, hey, maybe we could do this. Or maybe your accounting person is also the first person they talk to in the office after the sale is made. So they have that opportunity to smooth that process out. And that's just something that you don't really have when you have every functional area working on their own and very stay in your lane. And that's one of the reasons that I really do like the divisional org structure. It's also given me a lot of opportunity to learn about different areas and kind of explore if there's something more interesting to me. And it also helps me grow into my next position that maybe has a broader scope because I had exposure to that through the divisional org structure. Matrix structure, I definitely find my most challenging. And the reason for that is just, I find that overlap so confusing. I really feel like if I've got this calendar and this calendar, which one do I go to? When they overlap like that, I don't know which one is the primary. I feel like it's really difficult to find accountability, and I feel like it's difficult to find someone who's willing to take responsibility. You end up having people sometimes doing redundant tasks, and then you also have tasks that get missed. And so that is just really chaotic in my perspective and feeling, and I really struggle with that. So that's definitely one organization style that I would stay away from. Training and development. Training is teaching a process, teaching a policy. I can train someone on how to have good customer service and tell them that when we have an angry customer come in, the process to handle them is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which, might be something like acknowledge the customer's frustration, offer to get a manager, ask if there's anything that you can do. Whereas developing a person is more about the soft skills and actually helping them grow more intellectually and be stronger in that role and really figuring those things out themselves. So I can give a person as a trainer, I can give them a script of possibilities of what to say when an angry customer calls or comes in. But if I've developed that person and developed their customer service skills, they don't need a script. they can understand and listen to what the customer is complaining about, and they can address that frustration. They learn to be empathetic. They learn to really dig into the issue and understand what's going on. And I think that we've all probably experienced where someone gives us an answer like a flow chart. I know more than once I've seen jokes and memes at the expense of engineers. I think they're a great example where you have so many engineers that are very, very thoroughly trained and they understand black and white and did this happen, choose A or B, and you go down that path. But if you try to have a conversation with them and tell them, hey, this is what's going on, they really lock up and don't understand how to adapt to that because maybe what you're saying doesn't really fit A and it doesn't really fit B, and they end up more frustrated, and the person that's trying to communicate to them ends up more frustrated as well because they're getting these spit back answers that don't really apply to what they're saying. Whereas someone that's been developed will have a better understanding and be able to actually listen to what someone's saying and pick out the pieces and understand how to process that, even if what they're saying isn't an exact match for scenario A or scenario B. That's really the biggest difference between training and development, and I think it's so important to do both. We really need to have the black and white skills so that we can get the job done, but to really do the job well and to advance our careers, we need to be developed. Organizational subcultures. Subcultures are something that should definitely be monitored closely within an organization. They can be a really fantastic benefit to a company, but they can also be very detrimental. More often than not, they're detrimental. The most common subculture that I see is between administrative and support functions, with having a subculture for them, sales a subculture, and then field operations a subculture. What ends up happening when they each have that little subculture is they get a little bit cliquish. The salespeople hang out and do their things. They go to the golf tournaments and take customers out. The accounting people go out and get drinks after they finish all closing the books, these kinds of things. And they talk about their frustrations with the sales team and what they've done and what a pain they can be. They talk about the paperwork they get from field operations and how difficult they make their job. Then you have the field operations group who does something similar, and it just becomes a very us-them type attitude because of all the interactions and common complaints that are shared. Where it can be really beneficial is when you actually have subcultures that are cross-functional. So if you end up having a subculture of people that like to go and do bingo on Thursday nights, and a few of them are from accounting, and a few of them are from sales, and a few of them for operations, what ends up happening is that they go out and someone complains about something or talks about how frustrating XYZ was in their day, and how what a pain it is to try and get these checks out and pay our vendors because salespeople don't give all the information when they're setting up new stuff. Operations doesn't provide all the paperwork so that the coding can go through correctly. Someone makes that complaint. They're with operations, and operations, someone says, well, I don't understand why that's a problem. And you end up having this organic conversation where they both learn a little bit more about the other role and how what they're doing is really impacting the other department. And they end up being a little bit more considerate. And then the next time that they go to buy more gravel for the job that's being done, instead of just going and buying more gravel and telling the gravel supplier, hey, I just send a check to 123 James Smith Street and let them deal with it, they pause and they ask that person that they talk to in accounting, say, hey, what do you need for me to get this done? And so you end up having a lot of knowledge sharing. You end up just being more sympathetic and asking questions and being able to do your job better because you understand a little bit of what's going on with the other department, and you end up also giving people in the other department the benefit of the doubt a lot more than you naturally would if you don't have a subculture that spans multi-departments.